Alright guys, the Moto Edge 60 Fusion is about 2000 rupees cheaper than the Nothing Phone 3a. So are you getting a better deal with Moto, or does it make sense to spend more on nothing? I've spent a ton of time with both, so I'll break down exactly how they stack up across build, battery, camera, software and everything else. Hey guys, I'm Kshitij. You're watching Once Upon a Techie. Let's begin. Let's start with the design, and this is where these phones are completely different. You guys know I like the design of the Nothing Phone 3a. It's got that signature transparent back with the glyph lights, flat front and back, boxy design, but a bit wider than my liking. On the other hand, the Moto Edge 60 Fusion has this curved back and vegan leather finish that feels nice and premium, which is also very comfortable to hold and doesn't pick up any fingerprints. But I noticed that it is picking up a lot of dust, so you need to get a cover for both the phones. Yes, you have to buy one separately. Now, design is a personal preference, but I like the Moto Edge 60 Fusion more because it's very comfortable to use and looks a lot more premium. I asked some of my friends and they actually thought that Edge 60 Fusion is a phone above 30,000. What I don't like about the Phone 3a is the Panda Glass protection on the front and back. It is more prone to scratches than the Gorilla Glass 7i on the Moto Edge 60 Fusion. Thankfully, Phone 3 has a pre-applied screen protector on the front, while it's missing on the Edge 60 Fusion this time. But the most important advantage on the Edge 60 Fusion is that you get both IP68 and IP69 rating, whereas on the Phone 3a, you only get IP64 rating. So basically, you can submerge Edge 60 Fusion in water and it can even handle high pressure water jets, whereas the Nothing Phone 3a can only handle light splashes of water. Moto also has the military grade certification, but I'd still say be careful because the curved screen is more prone to getting damaged if you drop the phone. And if you're enjoying the video so far, then hit that subscribe button and help the channel grow. Now the battery life is interesting because on paper, Moto should win with its 5500 mAh compared to Nothing's 5000 mAh battery capacity. But in real world usage, I'm getting pretty similar results from both. From my Nothing Phone 3a long-term review, you guys know I was getting 7 to 8.5 hours of screen on time with 20 to 22 hours of idle time, lasting about 28 to 30 hours total. The Moto Edge 60 Fusion is giving similar numbers, maybe an extra half an hour on screen on time sometimes, but they are mostly on par. Where Edge 60 Fusion crushes Phone 3a is the charging speeds. It comes with a 68-watt charger in the box. Yes, it's actually included. And it goes from 0 to 100% in 60 minutes under room temperature. In an air-conditioned room, it can be charged under 50 minutes. But I'm not going to switch on the AC for charging a phone. On the other hand, Nothing Phone 3a has 50-watt charging, but you have to buy a charger separately for around 2000 rupees. And it takes 65 to 70 minutes for a full charge under room temperature, though it can be charged under 60 minutes in an AC room. Now both phones have excellent displays, but with some key differences. Phone 3a has a 6.77-inch flat Full HD Plus AMOLED panel with 120Hz refresh rate, whereas the Edge 60 Fusion has a slightly smaller 6.67-inch POLED display, but it's a higher 1.5K resolution, which is definitely sharper. And that could also explain why its battery life is about the same as the Phone 3a, even though Moto has a bigger battery. It also gets brighter at 1400 nits under the sunlight versus 1300 nits on the Phone 3a, and can also reach 4500 nits versus 3000 nits peak when watching HDR content. And that extra brightness actually makes a better viewing experience on the Edge 60 Fusion. The curved edges from all the four sides give it a premium feel, though sometimes I find them annoying due to reflections on the edges. But here's the thing, on both the phones, HDR only works on YouTube, not on Netflix, which is disappointing. Both displays are color accurate, but Edge 60 Fusion has this smart water touch feature that lets you use the display even when it's wet, which is actually useful. Both have in-display fingerprint sensors and they work well, no issues there. But Phone 3a's fingerprint sensor is slightly faster, as you can see here. I was about to skip the sound quality because if you look at the spec sheet, Moto Edge 60 Fusion has Dolby Atmos support, so it should be better, right? Wrong. Nothing Phone 3a stereo speakers sound far better and louder. Edge 60 Fusion speakers sound tinny and harsh at higher volume levels. So if good loudspeakers are your priority, then Nothing Phone 3a is the way to go. Performance is where both phones are different again. Nothing Phone 3a uses Snapdragon 7 Gen 3, while Moto Edge 60 Fusion uses Dimensity 7400. Both phones have 8GB and 12GB RAM variants, but 12GB RAM variants are not available in all the markets. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to make any noticeable difference. Let me know in the comments if anyone is using the 12GB variants. In benchmarks, Phone 3a scores better in almost every test I did, whether it was CPU, GPU, or even storage read and write speeds. But what actually matters is the real world performance. And here's what I've noticed. For daily tasks like scrolling Instagram or Twitter, watching YouTube videos and multitasking, Nothing Phone 3a is smoother than the Moto Edge 60 Fusion. I have used both the phones back to back and the difference is pretty evident. This made using Phone 3a more enjoyable and hassle-free. Nothing Phone 3a also handles gaming better in terms of raw performance. After the latest update, it can push BGMI up to 120 FPS versus Moto's only 60 FPS. But after about 30 to 40 minutes of heavy gaming, both phones start getting laggy. For gaming, again, Nothing is the clear choice here. Both the phones have slower UFS 2.2 storage and LPDDR4X RAM, which is a bit of a letdown. But Nothing has optimized the Phone 3a better than the Edge 60 Fusion. It feels snappier and less choppy. The difference is also clearly visible when you open the camera app and take multiple photos. Phone 3a is just quicker, and it was also clearly visible in the storage speed test as well. However, Moto gives you storage expansion, which Nothing doesn't. On the flip side, Phone 3a has NFC, so you can make tap-to-pay payments, while it's missing on the Edge 60 Fusion, so keep that in mind. Software is where both phones shine, but differently. Nothing OS 3.2 is clean, no ads, no bloatware, and I really like the minimal approach of the software. The customization options are also great, like lock screen widgets, app cloning, call recording that works with any app. Moto's Heli UI is also close to stock Android. The classic Moto gestures are still there. Chop for flashlight, twist for camera, and they actually work well and I found them really useful. There are some pre-installed apps, most of it can be uninstalled, but after the recent update, there are also unnecessary random app suggestions in the app drawer, and I also noticed a games folder with more gaming suggestions. You can disable some of the stuff and ask for your permission first, but all this kind of ruins the experience, and not everybody knows how to turn this off. And software updates are supposed to make your phone better, not worse. Really bad move, Moto. Now about the essential key on the Nothing Phone 3a, I found it annoying because I kept hitting it accidentally, and I think essential space still needs a lot of work. I have already talked about it in my long-term video of the Nothing Phone 3a, so do watch it. I felt like Moto Edge 60 Fusion has better AI tools, features like Image Studio for generating images, Playlist Studio, Copilot Vision, and Update Me, which gives you a summary of your notifications. Though they are not perfect, but are more robust than Nothing's offerings. Do let me know if you want a full review of the Moto Edge 60 Fusion. And I've already talked about it in the performance section. Nothing feels snappier than Moto. This includes app opening and closing, multitasking, and animations throughout the phone's UI. Both phones come with Android 15 and promises 3 major Android updates, but Nothing promises 6 years of security patches, which is longer than Motorola's 4 years promise. So there are some things where Edge 60 Fusion takes the lead and some things where Nothing takes the edge. This is probably the most important section for most people, the cameras. Nothing Phone 3a has a triple setup, 50 megapixel main with OIS, 50 megapixel telephoto with 2x optical zoom, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. Now it looks like Moto Edge 60 Fusion also has 3 cameras, but it has a dual setup, 50 megapixel Sony main camera with OIS and 13 megapixel ultra wide that doubles as a macro. And the third you see is an ambient light sensor. In daylight, the Moto Edge 60 Fusion consistently produces better photos. Colors are more natural, dynamic range is better, and the Sony sensor just captures more details. Nothing's main camera is good, but colors and dynamic range can be inconsistent. Sometimes you'll get different results taking the same shot twice. The 2x telephoto on Nothing is useful for portraits and getting closer to subjects without losing quality. But the 8 megapixel ultra wide is pretty bad. Less details and washed out colors. Only there if you absolutely need a wide shot. Moto's 13 megapixel ultra wide is much more usable and gives you macro functionality too. But color saturation needs to be reduced a bit. Low light is where Moto Edge is ahead again. The night mode is more consistent, and while Nothing can sometimes produce a great shot, it's a hit or a miss. But to be fair, all 3 cameras on the Phone 3a and both rear cameras on the Moto show a bit of a color shift, not unusual for this price range. When it comes to video recording, all the cameras on Moto can record at 4K at 30 fps. Nothing's main and telephoto cameras max out at 4K 30 fps. And the front camera can record at 1080p 60 fps, and the ultra wide can only record at 1080p 30 fps. So if you make reels or vlogs, that's a significant difference. Now Nothing Phone 3a starts at 25,000, while the Moto Edge 60 Fusion comes in a bit cheaper, starting at 23,000. Plus, Moto gives you more storage across its variants with 256GB as standard, and you can get both the phones at a cheaper price with bank offers. Factor in that Moto gives you a 68-watt charger in the box, while Nothing makes you buy one separately, and Moto becomes even better value for money. So, which one should you buy? Well, it really depends on what you prioritize. Choose Nothing Phone 3a if you want that unique design, absolutely clean UI, longer software support, better gaming performance, and you love the idea of having a telephoto camera for portraits. It's definitely the more interesting phone, and if you are a tech enthusiast who wants something different, this phone is for you. But choose Moto Edge 60 Fusion if you want better durability with IP69 rating, faster charging with charger included, more consistent camera performance, better real world display quality, and storage expansion. Plus you are getting the 256GB storage at a cheaper price. It's the more practical choice for most people. Well, if this comparison video helped you, hit that like and hype button. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching Once Upon a Techie, and I'll see you in the next one.